still my mind is like, holy crap, this is revolutionary. And you've been doing it for 20 years, and I've just joined in the revolution.
Okay, man, I'm totally stoked, ready. And you guys can hear me well, right?
It looks like you have a great studio yourself. This isn't your first Google Hangout, is it?
I've done a couple.
Yeah, it looks like it. I like that picture up there right behind you on over your left shoulder. Function. I can't read the rest of it. The most recognizing.
That was left over from an event we did, and I just put it up on the wall there for posterity, you know.
Yeah,
but Jeff, great to see you, man. I like your hairstyle.
Hey, dude. You know, grass does not grow on a busy street.
You know, yeah, I was told God only made so many perfect heads, and the rest He put hair on.
No, it's, you know what, it is really true. My spine continues right up to my eyebrows, so it's a good thing I have hair. It goes all the way.
What you can't see from Mick is his mullet. He has a mullet, goes all. He's probably sitting on his mullet right now.
That is for sure. All right, well, Reed Davis, we are so delighted that you have joined us. We have about 10 questions, and the Google Hangout usually lasts about an hour, and we are stoked. How we generally start is we just ask you to give us an introduction for our viewers so that they can know who you are if they've never heard of you, and then we'll proceed from there. So take it away, Reed.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity to share. You know, I'm Reed Davis. I'm the founder of Functional Diagnostic Nutrition Program, and I started back in the late 90s trying to find health and a way to make people healthier. My background prior to that was environmental law, so I worked in saving the planet business for quite a while, and I realized after some time that it wasn't just the air and the water and the trees and the bees and things that we needed to save. It was actually us humans that needed to be saved. And so I turned my attention to the natural health field. You know, I'm not a physician. I did get a good education in nutrition, but even that isn't enough to really change the health of the planet. And so that's a real quick background.
Well, that's good. So
tell us just a little bit about what you've started and what you've done, just so we have a good understanding of what your program's all about.
Yeah, sure. Well, the mission I have now, and it was never more crystallized than when I first conceived of it, was to educate as many people as possible how to get well and stay well naturally, so that they in turn could go and educate others. But I actually started in business, in the health business. I was hired to run a clinic because of my background in corporate America and that kind of thing. And what happened while I was promoting the clinic and corporate wellness and these things is I fell in love with the clinical side of things, like actually face-to-face going one-on-one with people. And that just changed my whole world upside down once I realized that how badly people were suffering, how they had already been to 5 or 8 practitioners before they walked into our clinic. And I thought there was really something wrong with the world. Why have they seen 5 practitioners or 8 and spent, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars, and they weren't well yet? Well, being a good student, you know, having gone through the law program and you know, hit the books and the law library till midnight, night after night after night, I just applied the same work ethic and sort of, you know, truth-seeking philosophy to the health and wellness industry, if you will. And so I started over a long period of time. I worked there over 10 years and worked on a lot of people. I ran a lot of labs. You know, everyone knows laboratory work is my background. And I made a few discoveries of my own. So what I have to share with people these days, and you know I teach a course in functional lab work and natural protocols, but what I have to share are my own observations. There are things that you only get in the clinic, working face-to-face, like trying to figure out with each individual what their particular underlying condition is. Like, what do they really need to fix? Instead of just treating the symptoms, of course. I mean, I think everyone listening to this broadcast would already be ahead of that game. Like we don't chase symptoms. And the common phrase of the day is get to the root cause. Well, I can go a little bit farther than that and tell you that you may never find the root cause. There's no one lab that will teach you everything you need to know about a person. You can't put a test tube of blood into a computer yet. Maybe 50 years from now, we can do that. So there's no perfect test. There's no way to get to the root cause sometimes. But it doesn't matter. You can have an effect upon it if you can get that person to follow certain protocols, completely natural, requiring self-awareness and self-discipline sometimes, but they can do it. You can turn really serious health problems around. And that's what I learned in all those years in the clinic and what I've been teaching for since 2008.
Well, what I love about it is maybe they can turn it around, but what I love is we can avoid it. Learn what your principles are, and I can avoid any health issues. That's what's exciting to me. It helps everybody,
Yeah, that's a really good point. The problem with that for me is that in the clinic, only sick people walk in. Healthy people don't walk in and saying, "Hey, how can I stay healthy?" At least not in my world. So we pretty much deal with people who have symptoms. They've got something about the way they look or the way they feel that they don't like, and they want to change it. And we find out real quickly how badly they really want to change it. And then we can go about our process or use our system of investigation and all natural protocols. So you're right. It's an anti-aging method. It's the same thing. It's the same. You do the same behaviors. But again, people come to us who already have been suffering for some time, most of them.
Yeah, fascinating. Mick, I don't know if you're in a position to actually read any of the questions. So do you want me to just give it a go?
Well, I am. I've got them memorized. I know exactly what they are. But go for it.
No, please impress me with this memory of yours.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
All right,
I'm going to be looking at them, so I'm going to hold you accountable.
So number 2 on the questions. Obviously, making a big transition from law to medicine, literally, is what you're doing, or health. You didn't do that alone. I mean, it may have been an idea and all that, but you were influenced by people. Can you speak to who it was that was the most influential person or mentor in your life that helped you with that transition?
At my age, I have to acknowledge I've had a lot of mentors, and I am a mentor also. So every mentor has good mentors. Some of them have passed away now because I've been doing this a while. But when I first walked into the clinic, where my son, who was a high school athlete at the time in the late 90s, he was being treated by a chiropractor, Dr. Leilani Fidel. And she opened up my whole world to this idea of natural health and wellness. And a lot of what I do is modeled after the chiropractic philosophy. But so Dr. Fidel, and then Dr. Bill Timmons was the lab guy. He was the genius behind a lot of the labs that at the time were considered experimental. Now they're actually standard of care almost in functional medicine. Dr. Bill Timmons. And then another Bill, Bill Wolcott. He's the guy that taught me all about metabolic typing and the body chemistry and the right diet for your genetic type. So there's a genetic typing system that he taught me. But I have to give, I'd say, the most mentorship credits to another Bill, Dr. Bill Bailey, who's retired now, but he's the guy who stuck his neck out for me, put himself in harm's way actually to, in a sense, authorize me to run all these labs in the clinic. So, and he supervised and, of course, provided the medical oversight that we need in these a lot of cases. But he's the guy who really taught me the difference between standard medicine and healing. And they're completely different things. I mean, again, our audience here probably doesn't need to be told that standard medicine is a disease care system. And because he was an osteopathic physician and working in that field, he was kind of bound to a certain standard of care. I became his alter ego. and was because I wasn't licensed. I didn't have any handcuffs on in that sense. I was able to run the labs, but seek not just to diagnose and treat a specific condition, like, you know, let's say your thyroid's low, here's your thyroid medicine. I couldn't do that because I wasn't licensed to do that, but also I didn't have to do that. We could actually look at why the thyroid or anything else was dysfunctional and what does that person need to do to correct it over time. And that's how we developed our protocols over the years. We have a very systematic, step-by-step approach to behavior and, again, the natural protocols. So Dr. Bill Bailey, again, he's retired, but he's the one who put himself in, he put his neck out there and really just trusted me. It was completely based on trust that I would not practice in medicine without a license, not diagnose or treat specific things. I mean, that's what they all had gone, all the patients had gone through that already. What they really needed is, you know, answers to what's really wrong with me, and can you help me, and how do they receive that help? So delivering those services are what he really coached me up on. And he was a remarkable guy, incredibly high integrity, and a man of great faith in what we were doing.
Wow, and it sounds to me like people that you have seen over the years, you said that they'd been to other doctors. So when they come to you, it's probably like they're coming to you're the last one that they see. Well, answers and actual step-by-step things that they can, action steps that they can take.
We're determined to be that person who stops the cycle of trial and error, because that's what people are in. You know, they go to a physician. If he's practicing standard medicine, he's going to diagnose and then treat that condition. And it could be just with pharmaceuticals or, heaven forbid, surgery or something. But a lot of people going to that type of physician are being told there's nothing wrong with them. In other words, your blood work looks normal. And so yet they know that something's different. They don't feel like they used to feel. They have no energy. They don't sleep. They have bad skin. They could have headaches and sinuses. And they're really just being given pills much of the time. And so they don't want that. Or, again, the doctor said there's nothing wrong with you. So they go out into the marketplace, the health space, and they try this and try this and try that. Everything from exercise programs to different diets to different supplements to, you know, standing on your head, you know, blowing a pitch pipe. Who knows? But you know, I determined that I would be the last person they needed to see. Now that's kind of ridiculous since I had no medical background. I had some nutritional training, which I actually took with Dr. Vidal. When I first started, she took me into a diplomat program as her assistant, and I took every lesson. I'm the guy that absorbed it. I'm the one that brought it back to the clinic and started practicing it. But other than that, I just had will, my sheer will. And I told Jeff the other day, you know, I did what I did because I didn't know you can't do it, you know, and so now I've learned that it takes a team. I mean, I'm not a chiropractor. I can't do adjustments. And if they need a chiropractic exam and adjustments, they have to get one. Or if they need a personal trainer, if they need, you know, there's things people need. But you can certainly be the main investigator, the chief investigator, and create a program for each person that they can easily follow, or more easily than what they were dealt in the past.
Hey, Jeff, are you with us?
I'm here. I'm just listening intently.
It's great stuff. Huh? Well,
yeah,
your turn.
I got number 3 here. You've created functional diagnostic nutrition. Would you describe it? I think you kind of already did a little bit of this, but would you describe it, explain where the idea came from, and what is its purpose? I think we kind of got some of it, but maybe you can elaborate.
Yeah, well, you know, I gave my purpose, which is to educate as many people as possible how to get well and stay well naturally, so they in turn can teach others. So FDN became the vehicle for that. It's really a system, and that's what people often are missing, is a system. It's a system of investigation. So we run laboratory work, saliva, urine, blood, stool. We look at hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and some other things. and we see where the improvements need to be made. We call them healing opportunities. So that's not the same as diagnosing and treating a specific thing. It's just, what are the healing opportunities? And then we use a step-by-step system of natural protocols. And you could remember it easily with 5 fingers, DRESS. It's diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, and supplements. Now, that's not treating anything specifically. It treats everything non-specifically. So when you follow the protocols, you're treating every cell, every tissue, every organ, all the systems, the entire organism is being treated in a sense. And it's a self-treatment. It does require some self-awareness and self-discipline sometimes, but the lab work provides the objective criteria, and which is very, people get beholden to that, often intimidated by it, frankly, but they at least get motivated to actually follow the program. So there are 3 steps to FDN. 1, investigate. 2, create the Dress for Health Success program, customize it for each person. Obviously, we don't all eat the same diets. Or the right diet for you could be wrong for me, and these kind of things. So we do the investigation, we create the Dress program, then you have to run the program. That's where the coaching comes in, and you get people behaving properly, and invariably they make improvements, they get better, to the point where sometimes diagnosed conditions disappear. The diagnosis was actually just the label for a cluster of symptoms. And as they start to fall away and peel off, there's no more problem. The diagnosis just doesn't apply anymore. And so that's how we get people healthy. And, the mission, how does that work? You get up every day and you try to put your best foot forward. That's what FDN is for. People who want to make changes and help the world be happier. You can't be happy if you're not healthy. So we just want a happier world.
Man, it's just amazing to me that you I'll say, fell into our lap, because your ideology and your thinking is exactly what we're doing. It's just exactly spot on with what we're trying to do with this book, And what a fit this is, I think. Okay.
I feel a sense of camaraderie here.
Yeah, but it's funny that you said, and it still kind of surprises me that a lot of the people that come to you are already sick. Now, that doesn't really surprise me. I shouldn't have said it that way, but
yeah,
I just think, I'm excited to get my kit just to see, why wouldn't anybody want to know what their body is lacking or needs or what? I mean, I can't even, to get a head start and get in front of it is so important, I think. I just think it's a whole different message, Why wait until your joints hurt? Why wait until you have, some of these acute problems, and I have a thyroid problem, and I would have never have thought 2 weeks ago, 3 days ago, that maybe it's something I'm doing. I don't even know. Maybe it's peanuts, for crying out loud. It's amazing.
Well, that is the sort of even smarter approach. Why wait? That's great. If we could get people to start implementing our systems prior to, being completely dysfunctional or to the level that they're at, that would be tremendous. And you're coming from the point of view that you're already in, you want to be in shape. You're young, you go to the gym, you like to look good, and you like to feel good. You like to have all the energy and clear thinking and ability to produce. You go out and you want to be happy too. So that's wonderful. And if we could get into the gyms and the different areas and do this as a preventative methodology, that would be a wonderful occurrence, or collaboration.
And it's funny.
Let me just add one thing, though, that there's a lot of people in the gym who look really good and they're not healthy. You can look great, shredded, but when you run some of the labs, you start seeing some issues, and then it makes that person, what we've seen in that case is that person starts to admit, you know what, I really am constipated, or I have diarrhea, or, I really don't have a lot of energy. Sometimes, I hate working out, or my skin is bad, or I've got headaches, or whatever it might be. They start to admit, when they see some of this objective criteria, that they're really not so shredded on the inside.
Gosh, it's so cool. It's funny. The business that I'm in anyway, being in Hollywood and stuff like that, I do see this as a fit. It's my wife runs the medical services department here at Universal Studios, and I can't wait to run it past her and see what she thinks. They have this whole wellness program, right, for the whole student.
Yes.
I mean, there's a clinic here, a free clinic for anyone that is on this property to go to, and I just think, with the mentality of the producers and the Hollywood starlets and that kind of stuff, this kind of and I'm looking at it from a preventative side point of view, I think that this could roll out on a preventative side, you know, just to, hey, you need to have these labs done as a healthy thing. And in a lot of cases, I bet you a company like Comcast would actually pay for their executives to have this kind of a screening done.
Well, it is very much an anti-aging methodology or technology, if you will. I've looked at aging because I'm aging. I'm getting older, and I'm 64 years old. But here's what I would accept. I would accept being 40 until I'm about 85. You see what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, I mean, I know that I will never be 22 again. You can't do it at 64. Who'd want to? At 22, I was pretty stupid, actually. But I did silly things, right? I was very hard on my body in many ways. But I'd love to be 40 until I'm 85. And I don't know too many people that wouldn't accept that as an anti-aging methodology, because, a good, healthy 40-year-old can kick some butt and do a lot of good in the world. And I'll do that till I'm 85. That's my plan. So you're right. Once you get over whatever the hump is, you can maintain it. It's about maintenance. And that's where we're at.
Wow.
I love it. Okay.
So with all of your experience of running labs and then helping people to understand their individualized chemical makeup, because I think that's what the panels do, because it's all individualized. What do you think is the biggest block for people, or the block that they have to change their habits and attain their optimal health?
It's a really, 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 really good question. And I wish I had an easy answer for it. This is where, personally, I take it off in a slightly different direction. I think people are not self-aware. I think they forget that, or never learned that we are spiritual beings. We're just in these bodies, and we have to take care of our bodies, and we have to take care of the planet, and we have to do very responsible things as beings. And so I know that that's probably not what you expected to hear. I don't have a magic habit forming formula like 21 days to health, and things like that. I think you have to become more self-aware. That's where the self-confidence, self-discipline comes from, and self-control, is about being self-aware. So I find that what helps me is getting up every day and deep inside having a feeling of gratitude on a spiritual level, and realizing that the world turns and I'm not in control of very much of it at all. I can just sort of control my teeny tiny little space, and that's it. So I accept that, and that's my answer. It might not be what everyone wants to hear, but that's my answer.
Guys, is it not mind-blowing how well this fits into what we're doing? I mean, seriously.
It's insane, because all of our masters say kind of the same thing. It all comes back to gratitude, back to us being spiritual beings, having a physical experience. It's amazing.
And that's what we're hoping to do here is sort of, and we're toying with this idea as we're laying out the book, is sort of like you can't have a healthy body until you have a healthy mind. So let's deal with that first, right? So here's how you get a healthy mind, and here's some of the teachers that we found are the best. And once you have a healthy mind, now we need a healthy body to carry that healthy mind around. So let's get your body where it needs to be, so you can move to the next phase, which would say be spirituality, or maybe it's relationships, or whatever it is to the individual. And we're trying to put this together, and it's starting to really take some nice shape right now. And it's just fantastic that you're just you're just on that same level that we're on. It's just phenomenal.
I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Okay, Mick, I'll go ahead and read the next one here. From all the people you've tested, whose story has touched you the most and why?
Oh, boy. You know, there's just been so many sort of quote unquote miracles. I mean, I'm not a miracle guy, but remarkable recoveries of children and parents and things. Well, you met Dory Martin, you know, and she told the story of she and her husband were really struggling, each with their own health condition. He had cancer, and she had some autoimmune thing going on that were pretty intense, and they were walking down the path of standard care, which, you know, doesn't really look at any underlying conditions or factors, you know, and I would say they were pretty doomed. And then because of taking the FDN course, you know, Dory signed up. I don't even know who referred her to us. She just found us, and we found her, and she started applying. She took very, very seriously what she was learning, started applying the general principles of health building, using the laboratory work to look at healing opportunities. And they both had miraculous, you know, heroic outcomes. You know, I mean, this man's cancer went into remission. Now, I'm not saying he didn't have some medical oversight, but I'm saying that, you know, that's more of a slash and burn type of an approach. We kept him healthy and alive and regenerating all of the other things. Again, the hormones, the immune system, digestion, detoxification, energy production, balancing the nervous system. When these things are in place, and people with those serious medical conditions, they just do better. It's a tremendous grounding program in that sense. But I'll tell you another really quick story if we have time. This is what jazzed me incredibly. Very, very early. When I first started doing the lab work in the clinic, I was still a clinic director, and I was walking a patient back to a treatment room who I knew. She'd been coming in for a couple months, and I could tell that she was very depressed. She was going to get her chiropractic treatment. And I said, "Hey, Susan, what's going on? What's wrong?" And she just looked down and said, "You know, I'm really sad. I'm depressed because I'm overweight. You know, I'm 40 pounds overweight." And I thought, you know, and she knew what I was thinking. Why are you overweight? Why don't you fix it? You know, and she goes, "Well, you know, my physician has me on some medication, and, you know, it just makes me overweight. I can't lose weight. It makes me gain weight." It was some steroid kind of things for a condition she had. And I said, "Well, you know, what's the condition, and why are you taking it?" Oh, by the way, her doctor had just told her, I think that day or just the day before, that she had her choice. You know, she complained that, you know, I'm fat because of this medication. And he said, "Well, it's either be fat or you're going to have the hives," you know, this thing she was taking the medication for. And so she said, "Well, that really depresses me." And he says, "Well, then I can write you a prescription for antidepressants."
Oh my God.
You know, so that was, and I said, and this was so weird. I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was almost 20 years ago. I said, "Well, did you ever look at for why you get the hives? Did anyone ever try to figure out why you get the hives, these big red blotches on her skin?" And her head snapped around like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, did you ever try to find out why you get the hives? And then you could get off the..." And she goes, "No." So I gave her, on the way out, I gave her a couple of test kits. She took them home. She got the kits done. We found out she had some food sensitivities, got her off those foods, and listen to this. Within 9 days it took her to call up her physician and say, "I'm not taking this medicine anymore." And check this out. She did the two things after 9 days that she hadn't done in 2 years. She had not exercised to the point of sweating because perspiration, even on the meds, made her hives come out. And she had not had a hot shower in 2 years. Not like a good hot shower, you know, because that would make her have hives even on the medication. So it took once we did our investigation, gave her some things to do, in this case, eliminates a few things. And she was just, it was like a miraculous, you know, and a few weeks later, she'd lost pounds. A month and a half later, she'd gone down 13 pounds, and she was on her way to incredible health and wellness. Why? Because we looked for underlying conditions. So those are just a couple of things that come to mind. But I've got kids stories with kids that ADD, ADHD, and I had a principal call me and say, "What'd you put Billy on?" Like, I guess not what I put him on. It's what we got him off of, man. Got out of his life. It's so just story after story. That's what keeps you going, man.
Wow. That's just incredible. It is interesting that the principal said that.
Yeah.
Because that's how we're all programmed. What'd you put him on?
What'd you put Billy on?
It's amazing. All right, so one of our other masters, JJ Virgin, you and her are closely aligned in your work, and I guess you do stuff together. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the two of you are building together?
I'm a huge fan of JJ's, and I have to tell you that we're changing the world, maybe one person at a time, one group at a time. We want people to be happy, and they're not, and it's because they're unhealthy. So we deal with it through the health space, if you will, just trying to make it a better planet, just trying to leave some kind of legacy of having done some good while we're here. I know that's what's in JJ's heart. I knew her for a long time from a distance. Like, I've seen her books, I've seen her on TV, and I've seen her do all these things. I'm actually small potatoes in that sense, in the media recognition sense of things. But I saw her talking the talk, but it was only recently that I found out that it's 100% pure and real in her heart. She wants to do some good in the world, and she's had her own personal stories and things like that you're probably familiar with. So it's really just co-mission. It's just two people who are like-minded, like the four of us here. You co-mission with people that are on the same page. It's a natural thing. Again, we're not the only ones. So again, she's very, very strong in the media circles, which is not my strength. My strength has been working in the background as a teacher, basically deputizing FDN type consultants. We created a program that works. It's investigation. So you have to be trained to do it. It's not something you just read a book and go do. You have to be trained to understand the labs, the biochemistry, the physiology, the anatomy. What are we looking at really? And what does it tell you about a person? And so all my clinical experience, which is pretty vast, there's hardly anyone that has run as many labs as I have. And so, I'm more of the background guy, but we're doing the same work.
The course, how long does your course take to go through?
Well, we give you a year. And then you can file for extensions if you want. It shouldn't take a year. If you applied yourself, you can get through it in 6 months, 8 months. I've had people do it in 3 months because they must have had nothing else to do. But it's very. There's over 100 modules. There's 41 hours of video. There's hundreds and thousands of slides to go through. There's over 100 documents that I give you, that everything I ever developed in all my clinical experience to deal with people, the tools, intake forms and methods and everything. It's all there. And then all the accounts that you need with the labs, the ability to run labs, and which actually anyone can do now. We created a program so that all consumers, all health practitioners, if you're a personal trainer, a nutritionist, if you're a health coach, you can use our system, our program to run labs, but you need the training. So that's kind of what I focus on. I have quite a international network now. I've got people in 50 countries doing this work.
Wow.
And lots of staff to help. But my strength also is organization and having a very dedicated team. And that's one of the best things about this business is people are into it. They get that it's a piece of them, that their heart's in it, and they join up. They want to work at it and be successful.
Great. When you think of the word successful, who comes to mind and why?
That's a good one. Well, I'd have to. You just mentioned JJ Virgin. I see her. she just put together a Mindshare Summit. It was a conference of like-minded people. And I went to the one last year, and it's growing. She's continuously bringing more and more people into the community and family of do-gooders, if you want. But they aren't just people who want to see some good done in the world. They see to it. They're seeing to it. So we all want to see some good done in the world. And people who are successful get up and see to it. And that's how JJ is. She's got to be one of the top people in the entire field. You know, I'm tagging along doing some hard work in the background, but I'm happy to do my part. And in that sense, I'm successful, I guess. You know, I give a lot. I want to be more, do more, have more, but I want to give more and more. You know, I could show you some things here in my desk, proof, evidence, you know, that the giving, you know, outflowing is the way to make room for things to come in. So I think that we can all be successful in that sense.
What is, I could probably answer this for you. We all probably could now, but what is your favorite part of your job?
You know, seeing the successes, seeing some of what I teach duplicated is very satisfying. You know, obviously the goal is to get people to be happier and to have some of those quote unquote miracles take place. You know, that's always very, very rewarding and satisfying. I like a pat on the back as much as anybody. You know, so I think you know, there's some personal rewards and things like that, but also just because I feel this sense of duty to do that good in the world. When I see it being done, it's all very encouraging, very encouraging. So I'm not sure I quite answered your question, but that and motorcycle riding are what make me happy.
All right. So what is your dream for the future? Now, you can tell us personally, but you can also tell us professionally. Like you mentioned 50 countries. So yeah, maybe expansion to more. I don't know. Anyway, just tell us what your dream is.
Well, yeah, you know, I have a vision of people taking more responsibility and getting it out of the wrong hands. You know, so typically people reach for something to feel better. They don't really understand that it's up to them. It's again a self-awareness, spiritual, if you will, self-control in a sense, and taking responsibility. So I'd like to see the planet become more self-aware, and I'd like us to take better care of the planet. Obviously, you know, I told you I came from the environmental field, and that probably begins with taking better care of ourselves. You know, and so the legacy, you know, leaving a legacy is both a personal and a business mission. My business, I expect to continue when I'm gone. So FDN as a organization, as a business and an institution, if you will continue beyond my years. That would be quite a legacy to leave. And then on a personal level, you know, I want to know that I've done everything I can to see to it that good was done. And, you know, I want to live a long time too, you know, just to be happy, man.
So have you coined the phrase or trademarked the phrase, see to it? Because you said that a couple of times, and I love the idea behind it. People get up, successful people get up and see to it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good one. I have up on my wall here, I'm looking at, I have a number of trademarks, registered trademarks, but that's not one of them yet. I just want to give that one away. Yeah. Okay. Like let's just give that one away.
It's certainly a good one. Wow.
I love it. There's a lot of little coin phrases that I'm starting to like. The Shrey executive, don't be a little bitch. That one's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do the effing work is the other one that he says all the time.
Yeah.
So Fletch usually has some of the most, you know, well thought out sleeper questions.
Well, I have the advantage of listening to the interview before I have to put them together. So, yeah, this has been fascinating for me. It's I had also a background in kind of the environmental side and land management and ecosystem protection and wildlife management and that sort of thing. One of the reasons I got into that and something that came out of kind of my upbringing was really a stewardship kind of mentality, where we're really in charge of taking care of things that we can affect. And, our environment is, a huge primary thing that comes to mind when we're, stewards of the land, so to speak, farming mentality. I came up in communities where there were ranchers and farmers. And then as that kind of evolved, I was involved in sports. And strangely enough, as I got more, I guess, highly evolved in sport, more of the responsibility for what I was choosing to do, I put out of my own hands. I placed in the hands of coaches or trainers or things like that. And there were certain coaches and trainers that I listened to that I think steered me pretty wrong. One of the things that I really like about what you're doing is the diagnostic portion. So you're actually assessing each person to determine where they are currently, and then what you can do with that. Is there pushback in kind of the traditional Western paradigm of everybody fits into the FDA food guidelines, that mentality, and how much does that affect having to kind of reteach people how to think about themselves and the responsibility to take care of themselves?
Yes, there's pushback, but not much of it is very legitimate at all. We're not competing with physicians in standard medicine. They do what they do. Thank goodness. They do it really well. If you get off a plane from Western Africa and your temperature's 105, you don't call your nutritionist. You go to the emergency room. That's amazing. That's fantastic. That's good. So standard medicine is based on heroics. And, again, like if you have appendicitis, you got to go get that fixed. So that's one world. That's one system. Now, people come to us, and that's not the system they need, but that's the system they're finding themselves in. In other words, what they want is health. They want to really fix what's really wrong. They want to rebuild their hormones, their immune system, digestion, detoxification systems, and they need to be healthy. Well, you can't find that in that system. It doesn't exist in that system. So you really need to just separate the two systems, and it's as simple as that. They do what they do. And by the way, they're very good at knowing how bad things can get. Like if you have headaches, well, they might automatically think brain tumor. We would think food sensitivity, something you're breathing or smoking, or there's just different ways of thinking about it. We want to know what's really wrong. They want to make sure you don't die. They should be compatible with each other. So I don't have a us versus them idea. Remember, my mentor, the main one I told you about, was Dr. Bill Bailey, who's retired, but it was an amazing osteopathic physician, a brilliant guy with tremendous integrity. He taught me that kind of stuff very early on, that, things can turn south pretty quick on certain people. And that's where heroic medicine can be very, very handy. As long as a person has time to do all the healing and repair and restoration and apply the general principles of health building, we're in. That's what we do. But if that time is really compressed because they're having anaphylactic shock to peanuts, again, they need to go get a shot, of adrenaline or what have you. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I wonder what your take is on, you said 50 countries. Are most of those more westernized or Eastern kind of philosophy?
It's funny. I mean, I didn't even know there was 50 countries, or something. We have one in, this place and one in that place. I mean, there's places I didn't know were countries. There's an island called Mauritius. We have 2 FDNs there, and they don't even know each other. I thought, well, how many people? So, but most are in the United States, of course. Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are huge, and quite a few in United Kingdom. and then the rest are just kind of spread out. And there's only a few places in the world where you can't do FTN, and those are places that have very heavy restrictions on the shipping of lab tests and bodily fluids. You know, like they think it's a bomb. You know, you're sending a bomb somewhere, or they just don't get it. You know, so there's some places you can't do what we do. Because of the lab work and the transportation of these things. And some countries are incredibly, ridiculously restrictive on dietary supplementation. They just look at it as voodoo, and they want to control it like it's drugs, and it's not drugs. And if we don't watch out, it's going to happen in this country. So we have to fight for our freedoms too, which is another part of the health space that we have to deal with.
Yeah, one of the things Jeff kind of said halfway through was like, you know, getting people's mind right, helping them understand what's going on, get your mind right, and then your body actually is a result of proper thinking. And so that it works. One of the things I kind of tend to focus on in life is looking more into the context to see what's creating the result instead of trying to attack the result directly. And this is exactly that. It's getting something upstream diverted either to or from, you know, what's causing the problem. If you need more water here, you divert it upstream and, you know, get the nutrients over here, or get it away if it's too backed up. Is that kind of a concept that makes sense and resonates in this space, or?
It makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of ways to articulate, you know, how we look at the body and things we do. One phrase that I did trademark is metabolic chaos. And so, you know, we don't look at, we don't fractionate entirely. You know, we look at the root cause of something that could be very well hidden and undetectable, because there isn't a test good enough to detect it. And so if you look at a dysfunctional body, person with a lot of health problems, or even just one or two major ones, you know, then you know that you can address it, the symptoms. That's the easy part. Then trying to get to the layers that are contributing to it. Well, there are things that contribute to the chaos. I call it metabolic chaos. So there are mental emotional stressors. They contribute to chaos in your body. There are the physical trauma and built up, you know, injuries and things, sports and car accidents, and you fell off your bike when you're a kid, and whatever, all these other things. So there's the mental emotional, there's the physical. And then I've had a good another sort of mentor is Dr. Russell Jaffe. He said that we are marinating in a toxic soup. Basically, the world is so polluted. It's in our food and air and water, and it's ubiquitous. These toxins are ubiquitous. They're in the furniture and the carpeting, and everywhere and things. So you've got the mental emotional. You've got all the physical trauma built up, weaknesses and bad posture and things. You've got the chemical stuff, and as we have all acknowledged on this call, there's existential angst, having no purpose in life, and not knowing, you know, what you're really all about. All those things contribute to chaos. Now, the area that I've specialized in is that the chemical and biochemical, and looking at, you know, those things we have a real good effect on quite easily. But it all matters. All of those things contribute to metabolic chaos. And so, and metabolic chaos is the result of those things, and they kind of feed off each other and produce somewhere downriver, using your analogy, downriver is where the symptoms are. And so we look upriver, like exactly what you just said.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love also that, like, health specifically is upriver of, you know, people that are having a bad relationship. It might just be that both people in the relationship are low energy. They both are in pain. And when they're in pain, they're both just angry and full of angst, or, you know, they want to get better in their job and they don't have enough mental clarity to do so. And it's actually a health problem. It's not, you know, kind of attacking the problem directly. Health becomes kind of upriver of almost everything we have in life, with relationships and learning and ability to produce at, you know, professional levels and things like that.
Yeah, and a lot of times, we're paddling upriver real hard, and I mean, there's lots of analogies we could throw in here, but you know,
Hey,
maybe
Mick,
another time.
Mick, I hope you're parked because you've been staring away from the road for quite a long time.
I am parked. I've been parked for about 25 minutes, so I'm glad you noticed that. A few times I thought I would just go like, "Oh my gosh!" I decided not to. That wouldn't have been very pleasant for you. But this has just been such an informative call. I can't wait for more information, and all of us here. I mean, I'm speaking for Fletch and Jeff, but we're pretty healthy people, considering, and so we doing the labs and getting the panels and finding all the information out is more preventative, I think. But what a opportunity to, like, I look at my family and I look at diseases that my family has, and like, I don't drink alcohol because my father and my mother are both alcoholics. My brothers are both alcoholics. So I realize that genetically, that's probably floating around. I just don't turn that gene on because I know that it's floating around in there. So you had mentioned really quickly the different areas that you test for. Could you talk about them? I think you'd maybe before had said there were 9 of them, but emotional and all the different areas that you look at.
The lab work is we would request everybody run 5 labs. 2 are urine. There's a saliva test, a blood test, and a stool test. And so that would give us some data. It's more important to know who you're testing than what exactly is on the paper, and correlating those 2 things. So we run the labs, but you also have to take a very good history and understanding of a person, their subjective, and all these different, again, criteria, and you correlate the 2. So 2 people could have the same test results, but for different reasons. And remember that the test results aren't the problem. They're just a reflection of what's going on in that individual. So we don't have a take this for that approach. But to answer your question, so, with that, we look at the hormones, all the stress hormones and sex hormones. We look at digestive markers. We look at oxidative stress, and try to figure out where that's coming from sometimes, or on every person. We look at detoxification, like certain liver markers to tell us if you're actually detoxifying your body properly. We look at the mucosal barrier. You have your outside skin, your inside skin, which lines the entire tract. We call that the mucosal barrier. That needs to be of very high integrity. Some of it's only 1 cell thick. That's what's separating you from the bad world. 1 layer of cells. So we need to look at the integrity of that. We also look for pathogens. We look for bacteria, fungus, virus, and things like that. Parasites. And then we look for foods that are creating inflammation. There's lots of different methods, and I won't go into the different ones. I've run every test there is. You can see in those are tests that I still have to run on myself. I have every lab on the planet now sending me their test kits saying, try our lab, try our lab. So I try to vet these things out, and, sometimes we'll adopt a new lab, and sometimes I've got some labs I've been running from day one. They're still the best tests out there. So anyway, so we look at hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, and balancing the nervous system, the sympathetic versus parasympathetic. That gives us usually enough clues to really nail down as an individualized dress for health success program. And again, there's diet, rest, exercise, stress reduction, supplements. Diet needs to be genetically proper for you. We can't, people are into paleo. Well, I would say, which paleo? Which ancestors are you talking about? So diet, rest. You can't be healthy if you don't sleep right. Exercise. You can't be healthy if you don't exercise. Stress reduction is the biggest area because that's where we're looking for the contributors to metabolic chaos. They're ubiquitous. And so Then supplements, and I don't have my own line. I don't push a certain brand, but I know a few things about them, and I know that they can support you. They can stimulate certain systems when needed, and they substitute for what's missing in food, because food, even organic food, is not really nutrient dense like it used to be. And so I can go on and on about these things, you know, but the labs, to answer your question, hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, energy production, nervous system, we're measuring those things I told you about. And then it's the protocol. That dictates or customizes a protocol, and then you have to do the protocol. So there's 3 steps: investigate, design the program, run the program. And that's where health coaching comes in, and why Dr. Russell Jaffe, he's an MD that is just sort of a research scientist genius. He owns a lab. He does own a supplement company. He's really a brilliant guy, and he's in the space big time. He says that we need 50 to 75,000 new FDNs. You know, I've only trained 2,500 people. I need to train, according to him, I need to train another 50 or 75,000 to just to supply the U.S. with the number of people it needs who are trained right and can actually educate. Again, to fulfill the mission, it's to educate as many people as possible how to get well and stay well naturally, so they can go teach others, teach your family, teach everybody, you know. And so I need to deputize another 50,000 people real quick.
Well, once we get the reality show picked up by the appropriate network, the right home, you're going to be able to be very picky of the 50,000. That's the hope.
Yeah, well, they have to be people who want to see some good done in the world, and they have to get up every day and see to it that some good is done.
See to it.
Love it.
We really appreciate you taking the time. Guys, you got any more questions?
Sure.
I've got a ton more, but I think that's probably good for today. This has been great, and my brain's, I've got 3 pages of notes here. So thank you very
much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mick and Josh and Jeff. You know, it's been my real pleasure.
We will talk soon.
We appreciate it, and we'll be, for sure.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you later. Okay, bye-bye.